Caitlin Clark listed as probable tonight for the rematch, the revenge game, the Tiffany Hayes game, and the Golden State Valkyries out in California for her back. Now, on the one hand, you could say, hey, maybe the Fever learned something from their absolute debacle the last time Caitlin Clark missed a game. The other thing which entered my mind is they're screwing with everyone and they're going to do this every single time for CYA reasons. But here's the other thing that's really concerning here is why? And what I mean, and we've touched on this briefly, is what is with this back injury? What is this back injury? I mean, clearly there's an issue here, and it cannot simply be, oh, her back gets what out of alignment and has to be adjusted all the time because that is certainly not normal for a 25, 24-year-old elite high level athlete. It's not normal at all, despite what people might say. So, what is going on with Caitlin's back? We are going to circle back to that in a moment because this ties into it. And I want to talk about some of the issues with Caitlin Clark's back, the questions that I have, why I'm concerned about what it is they're doing and how they're handling her back as opposed to what they should be doing. So, yes, we're going to get into a little bit my area of expertise in dealing with athletes. Hopefully, you're interested in something like that. By the way, did I mention welcome back to the channel? Uncensored, unafraid. Shout out to the 19. Truly appreciate all your support. Truly appreciate all of you being here and helping out. Quick favor, you know the drill by now. Please like, comment, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We've talked about that a million times, what YouTube loves to do. I really do appreciate it. So let's dig into this a little bit. I want to play a clip from Stephanie White that is, again, a problem for the Indiana Fever, okay, in terms of how they are handling these things and why you get a lot of these questions and sometimes, yes, overreactions from fans. It is a failure in communication from the team.
Steph, what is your reaction to getting a warning from the league as a team for the injury report involving Caitlin?
My reaction is for what?
You violated the rules. That's clear. Everyone knows it. The league let you off with a warning because they don't give a crap about Caitlin Clark either. But this is that men. Can I talk to the men for a second? And women, because you know you do this. Y'all recognize that attitude and that tone of voice right away, right? That is a here comes an argument. I don't really know why. I don't think it's going to be rational, but she has lost her mind. I think maybe I'm going to go back out of the door and have a beer with the fellas down at the local bar.
Or to follow up to that, why is that your reaction?
Because we did things the right way.
You didn't.
And to follow up, I know you've mentioned in the past that when we ask medical questions, we can defer that to the medical team. We, to my knowledge, don't have access to talk to them.
I'm sorry.
I'm staying calm because, and again, there it is too. Right there. This is some of the most unprofessional, petulant, childish, immature, unlikable crap I've ever heard spewed from a head coach of a professional league team in any sport. Sorry, no one can defend Stephanie White's attitude here. I don't want to hear it. That is this. And by the way, she's done that for knowing it, right? Which so, oh, I talk to the medical staff. Yeah, and before we get back into that, people again, this is where we get into the whole. A lot of people who are fans aren't really fans. They don't understand sports. They don't understand fandom because I get a lot of people like, oh, it's personal. We shouldn't know about Caitlin in professional sports. Injuries that affect player performance, not just missing games entirely, but player performance It's not personal. It has to be disclosed. It is part of what you give up when you become a professional athlete and play. The NFL is probably well, the NFL has probably always been the most, I shouldn't say upfront because a lot of teams do a lot of things to obscure it, but they've always had levels about questionable and probable and injury updates and all this, and it's very detailed and very extensive because it obviously impacts a lot of things. And let's be blunt, even before we all had it in the palm of our hands with legalized betting and sports books, a lot of it was for betting, whether we like it or not. But it's also for fans showing up, which we've talked about before. And the NBA has had a huge problem with load management and all of that stuff. So no, it is not private. Now, if God forbid a player came up with a serious health diagnosis that was very personal, and they were going to need to take an extensive time away, and they wanted to keep that private first. Yeah, a team could come out and say the player's taking a leave of absence for, we don't know amount of time. And then of course they'd have to be listed on the injury reports all the time at the games report about that they're out, that they're out, that they're out. But this stuff, yeah, if you have a player who's hurt, you have a player who's injured, they go on the injury report, period. So yes, that has to be disclosed. So like this attitude right here, wow.
The medical team, we, to my knowledge, don't have access to talk to them.
I'm sorry.
Wow. Oh my Lord, that's like nails on a chalkboard. That yeah.
So yeah, to that point, I guess, how can you, or to be real, what is the line between what a coach can disclose and not disclose publicly, and how do you toe that line when you want to protect the player, but also you have to inform the public to a degree?
Yeah, I don't disclose anything that's not already disclosed by our medical team, by our franchise.
Stephanie White, clearly a former WNBA player, and they clearly were always very, very unlikable. I mean, this is why, but let's talk about this injury thing because this is kind of concerning. Just some questions I have. As much as this back thing has been talked about, I don't think we've actually talked about it enough in terms of this is not normal, right? Clearly, she's not 100% healthy. And I know the game she's going out and having, but again, she missed a game. We're talking about her getting adjustments and treatments. That is not 100% healthy. That is not normal. So, what exactly is the issue with the back? The back is a tricky thing. The back ends careers, period. What is the injury? Why is a healthy 24-year-old elite athlete constantly getting back adjustments? When did this problem originate? How did it originate? Why? What was the diagnosis that led to these are the things we're going to do to treat Caitlin Clark's back on an ongoing basis? And why is it being treated on an ongoing basis as if it is a chronic issue for the rest of her life as opposed to fixing it? So what is the short term and long term outlook? Are you telling me that for the rest of her career, Caitlin Clark is going to be questionable every game because of her back and she's going to need adjustments all of the time? And it could happen at any time. She's always going to be sitting on that blue pad. That doesn't help, by the way. I'm just saying. So, how are they? What is it they're treating? How are they treating to heal it, not manage it? Caitlin Clark should not be dealing with managed pain in terms of her lower back right now at 24 years of old, especially when you're telling me she is healthy. And I'll leave with this. This I'm not signing off. This might take a few minutes, but I want to get into this a little bit. Most likely, this is a guess on my part when we're talking about these types of things. It could be a lot of other things, but when I'm looking at the fact that w she's playing a lot and this is adjusting and all of this, one of the ways you can get lower back problems, one of the reasons you get these types of issues, or it could even be the knee because you can get right, the knee can cause lower back issues, but a lot of it stems from the hip flexors. A lot of people, even elite athletes, have weak hip flexors. They have tight hip flexors, and that causes problems all over the entire body, right? They have issue with the psoas muscle in the hips, which is the only muscle in the body that connects the upper body and the lower body. And especially in modern life, there are a lot of issues with a lack of strength and tightness in that area that causes a whole host of problems, which could be what we're seeing with Caitlin Clark, because we see in the WNBA why there are a lot of problems with players playing defense because they don't have any strength, right? They can't sit down in a defensive stance and then move well. That's why you see so many of them get beat off the dribble so easily because they're standing up to their play. They play too high defensively. They stand up because they don't have the strength to get deep into a defensive stance and stay there. And oh my Lord, it's got me thinking back to the days in middle school and high school and doing those drills, getting into a defensive stance, doing quick feet, getting the pointing, slide left, slide right, diagonal back the other way, diagonal forward, straight foot, and staying in that defensive stance the entire time and staying low, not high, low. Watch, pay attention to that defensively. How often do you see WNBA players sitting down in a true good defensive stance? That is a strength issue. These players are not strength training in the way that they should in order to develop the proper muscles in order to be able to do that. And when you're not doing it, when you have tight hip flexors, when you have weak hip flexors, when your psoas muscle isn't developed, it can cause a whole host of injuries all over the body that seem disconnected. Okay. And yet that is where the problem originates. Now, how do you do it? Well, you don't do back adjustments, right? You have two core movements that help with that. You have what we'll call hip hinges, right? And probably the easiest one. There are a lot of different things you can do, but one of the easiest ones so that you all know it is a kettlebell swing. If you want, that is a hip hinge movement. It is great for helping to develop that. And then, of course, your typical squats, right? Your barbell squats, your dumbbell squats. You can use you can use one kettlebell, two kettlebells, all different types of squats. Those are the two core movements that you need as a professional athlete, amongst all the other things. But you absolutely need to be doing that. And I would rather see Caitlin Clark on a proper hip flexor strength program specifically for strengthening the hip flexors and the psoas muscle than I would doing all this crap. I know you all heard that dumbass car out there. I do not understand why these people don't get pulled over because there's no way in hell that was legal. But anyway, so, and again, I don't have the absolute diagnosis. I'm giving you educated guesses based on what I'm seeing from Caitlin Clark and this whole back thing as to what should be done compared to what is being done. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Truly do appreciate it. I will talk to y'all later.